Just checking out the press conference with Chris Drury and Glen Sather introducing Chris Drury as the new general manager of the New York Rangers. It's been a strange 24 hours. Today, earlier, the New York Rangers were fined $250,000 for the comments against George Peros. And then, within that same day of when the press release went out on Twitter and everything, yesterday, the Rangers fired, pretty suddenly, John Davidson and Jeff Gorton. So now we've got this press release, or we've got this press conference that we'll take a look at, and we can just see if we can grab some points from it. What's interesting is right at the beginning, you'll see that Drury comments to the reporter, asks him how his baby is. So he's obviously, he's a personable guy. Like, if you ever met Chris Drury, like, I've met him in the rink. He used to train in LA in the summer with guys before the season started. There was a whole huge group of them, and he was a really good player, obviously, like.
Well, congratulations.
See if we get a copyright notice. So he's
doing pretty well.
Saying, how's the baby? And he says, oh, they're keeping me up till 3 a.m. So it's going to be interesting to see this era. He's inheriting, like, a ridiculous roster, don't you think? Like, he's got Shesterkin, who's probably arguably the top 1 or 2 goaltender prospects. He's probably beyond prospect. Like, he's a legit number 1. He's young. He's like 24 or something. They got Alexis Lafreniere, who's going to actually outscore Tim Stützle. It looked like Stützle was going to run away with things early, but he's already got his 10th goal, and Stützle's, I think, stuck at 9. So Lafreniere, after being, not getting a lot of ice time early, has really come on strong. Capo Caco in his second year is playing really well. Buchnevich has scored 20 goals in 40 some odd games, so he's a legit, power goal scoring forward. Adam Fox has been mentioned as a Norris Trophy candidate, which is interesting. Zibanejad started out really poorly, and he rebounded, like, significantly, so he's still a superstar. And if you look at Jeff Gorton's trades, like, he got Zibanejad for Derek Brassard. He gets now, he made the Jacob Trouba trade, and I don't think they won that trade. I think Neil Pionk has outperformed Trouba, but they did get a guy that can play top 3, so that's good on D. They totally scored on a bunch of areas. Like, they've got Keandre Miller, looks legit. He's going to be an excellent top 4 defenseman for a while. Chris Kreider, probably, I don't know if he predated Jeff Gorton, but he's had an excellent year. So they're really, like, even though they didn't make the playoffs this year, they had a very good season. So I don't know. Anyways, let's see if we can. We'll have to copyright this out. But
the last 2 years, I grew up in Connecticut on No Baby, so it was great to get to know him and work with him and learn a lot from him.
Because he's talking about working with Jeff Gorton. Right beside him is Glen Sather.
I really can't say enough good things about him. The kind of person he is, what he did for me and for my career. I never met him before I came back to interview for the player development job, and since then has taken me under his wing.
So that's nice.
I'm sure
he's where we'll be headed now.
Well, Carpe, for me, I don't think it's
he knows the reporter.
I really believe in what we.
So I think that's interesting. Like, he's been groomed for a job in the NHL for a while. He's been the GM in the AHL, but he's on a first name basis. He knows the reporters and he talks to them individually. So I think that's kind of interesting. You're going to get a feel for, what's Chris Drury all about. And this is why he's been named probably as a candidate for many of the big jobs that have been out there. But I'm sure the Rangers didn't want to lose him. He is an excellent, he's relatively young. Like,
accomplished.
He was born in 72.
We're able to do and not only, adding young assets and making some key trades and, signing obviously marquee free agent and the Breadman. So
Breadman, Panarin's awesome.
I think it's an exciting time for the organization.
It is. Like, it's crazy. I mean, how do you not be excited if you're taking over this team? And then they have Krabstov coming. Scheidel looks like he's doing really well with Capo and Lafreniere. Like, he's a very talented player. I mean, There's a lot going on there.
You know, just like every organization does.
And then Ryan Strome, like Jeff Gorton stole Ryan Strome from Edmonton for Ryan Spooner. Where's Ryan Spooner? Is he in the KHL? Is he even playing? I don't know.
When the season ends, we're going to take a look at everything and do what we can to, you know, take the next step.
So I think the one thing that came out was that, you know, they will evaluate the coaching situation with David Quinn. Overall, I think he's done well. What was interesting is that Chris Knobloch, who I think is an excellent coaching candidate, he coached Connor McDavid and Alex DeBrincat in Erie. He, you know, Andre Burakovsky, these are all guys that made it to the NHL after he coached them in the OHL. And then he was an assistant coach in Philadelphia. He came up from the AHL and jumped on the bench when Quinn had COVID. So it'd be very interesting to see, does Chris Knobloch get a shot again? Because their season wasn't going amazing. And then Knobloch and Drury jump on the bench. And then they left Knobloch even when Quinn came back. And Knobloch, I mean, they started winning after that. It was almost like, you know, they took a plug out and let the dam run. You know?
Become that playoff team.
Yeah, you know,
they're going to be a playoff
like I
team.
said,
Yeah, they're
more
going
than
to be
24 hours.
unless something bad happens.
Thoughts and, you know, things that, you know.
Oh, let's see. Where's Glen Sather? There he is.
And I know you're going to be there to, you know, support and advise Chris as needed, but
Looks pretty good.
What's the challenge in doing both jobs for one person? I mean, the last, you know, since you gave it up, it's been done by two different guys. So
wait, what?
What's the challenge in one guy doing both jobs?
Well, I think in some respect,
Are they saying Chris Drury is president and GM? Whoa, wait a second. Chris Drury. Yeah, he's going to be the president and the GM. So I know that's okay. Wow, he scored on this.
it's actually easier because you're more involved in everything, in every detail and every decision. The scouting process, every part of the organization so far, and he was a great player in the NHL. I think he's going to be terrific at his job.
Chris, how would you personally evaluate and just
here and talk about anyone's job status in the organization publicly? You know, I know it's been a wild year since we started.
It has been a wild year. There's been a lot of crazy stuff. There was all the stuff with Panarin, you know, having accusations against him that was kind of like as a backlash of his, you know, talking against a world leader, literally in Russia.
And, you know, we'll start that process next
I
week.
think they investigated and cleared him of that. But
What your take is on the state of the rebuild and what the team is lacking now?
the rebuild's done, man.
In that regard.
What do they need?
Well, I think the
They dealt with the Tony D'Angelo nonsense.
organization is been built very well in a lot
It's
of
built
areas.
very well.
And once
Like, this is, I mean, I don't know how else you look at it, but like, you're inheriting something amazing. I mean, Lafreniere is legit. He's so good, and he wasn't getting a lot of ice, and you know he may have to make adjustments. He's got 11 goals now, guys. 11 goals in 54 games. So suddenly, that's a pretty good year for him, considering the first half he wasn't getting ice, and he's been, since they brought Knobloch on the bench, he's been pretty damn productive with Scheidel and with Capo Caco. And what's Caco at? 9 goals, 8 assists. So it's not like blow your mind type offense, but you can see game in, game out, those guys are dangerous. Lafreniere is going to be a top 3 player. They list him as 6'2". Do you believe Lafreniere is 6'2"? I don't know about that.
once we sit down and start to talk to some of the people in the organization and listen to what Chris has to say in the direction that the team's going to go in, then we'll make some decisions next week.
I think that if you look at their lineup too, so they got Panarin as a superstar, 58 points in 42 games. Zibanejad started out horrible, and now he's got 48 points in 54 games. That's based upon probably a point and a half a game. And last year he averaged almost a point and a half a game, I think. Adam Fox, 47 points in 53 games, and he's a plus 20. They stole Adam Fox. Like, what did they get Adam Fox for? A bag of peanuts? Let's see. First, he was traded with Dougie Hamilton and Michael Furlan to Carolina for Noah Hanfin and Elias Lindholm. He wouldn't sign in Calgary, wouldn't sign in Carolina. So they trade him for a second-round conditional pick and another second-round pick. Now, those picks are interesting. So this long-term could be very interesting because Carolina they drafted Mads Søgaard, and Mads Søgaard is a 6'7" goaltender from the Western Hockey League, and he's an excellent goaltending prospect. Noel Gunler, overage Sweden-born player, super talented. We saw him at the World Juniors. He had a pretty damn good year for, I think you pronounce it Brynäs in the Swiss, or I keep saying Swiss, the Swedish Elite Hockey League. 7 goals in 29 games for a guy that's a 2001 birth year. He's big. He's like 6 foot, 6'1", and he's talented. So long term, who knows? It might work out for Carolina just fine. However, Adam Fox has definitely worked out. Colin Blackwell, who would have ever saw this guy playing on the top line? Like, it was like Colin who? He's 28 years old. Chris Kreider's had a great year. So you go down the line, there's a lot to work with here. I don't love the defense overall. Ryan Lindgren, though, I've said this to Frenchie, he's a 98-born player. His brother was a goalie with Charlie Lindgren. He's a pretty good defenseman. Now, is he a top 2? No. But they got Trouba. Trouba's really been, okay. I don't love him. I think he's overpaid. Keandre Miller, man. Wow. Like, Keandre Miller, you got to love a 6'5" defenseman that can skate. Got good offensive instincts. Big guy. So you go down the list, they got a bunch of guys that are really useful. And then you still have Kravtsov coming. You got Shesterkin and Georgiev in net. I mean, there's not too many holes. What do they need? They need a top 2 defenseman, maybe. Someone to play second pairing or to, round out Adam Fox. That's it. That's not that much. I mean, Ryan Strom's been awesome.
So I'm assuming you're going to have to do some hiring of maybe a Hartford GM and maybe an assistant GM, etc. If you have plans to do that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Kirby, we're definitely gonna need to fill some spots, and again, that a little bit that started last night in my head, and we'll continue.
If you need a scout, man, I would love to scout in the NHL
for this weekend and into next week for sure.
Chris, you said it's been a whirlwind.
Maybe I'll have to start
24 hours.
reaching out.
Everybody see this coming, but did your conversations with James Dolan or Glenn or whoever, did they begin just in the last 24 hours? Was this something that had been talked about, especially when you got promoted in February, as maybe an eventual possibility? Like, how did this whole thing kind of evolve?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get into, no, there was
Need to hire some folks for Hartford, etc. Like, what's the top priority? I mean, the season's going to end on Saturday.
big division game today with, be a lot of work for a lot of people in the organization. And, I know I have a lot of help in Glen and a lot of people, back
You start
in
making
town, and
friends.
looking forward to getting after.
with some of these guys.
My question is for Glenn. I'm just wondering if you can just clarify once and for all if any of the things that we've seen transpire in the last 24 hours with the GM.
Like the weird press release that went out
What to do
criticizing
with
the
the
NHL player safety GM and saying you should fire him. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'll clarify that. That's an easy answer. They had nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing.
All right. So they were.
You still had a chance to get on the bench.
You gotta take him at their word.
for a handful of games this season.
Listen, Chris Drury is an impressive guy. He's like very seasoned. But Jeff Gorton did a pretty damn good job too. I'm sure there's some committee
Yeah,
going
it was
on.
an exciting 6 games. I hadn't been on an NHL bench since.
Oh, right. He's talking about when Quinn got COVID or was in COVID protocol. I don't know if he actually had COVID or not. And like as I was saying before, Chris Knobloch, Chris Drury, and there was someone else on the bench.
11, I believe. So
He coached 6
to get-
games. That turned the season around, guys.
And, to hear and see things.
Like they
from
came
that
very
angle,
close. They were
to
very
be in,
so much
and
better
for
after that.
6+ years. It was exciting and definitely could learn a lot. Also I think the added benefit to it was, our Hartford coaches were there with me and
Right.
got to work with them in a way that I hadn't, previously. So it was overall.
So I like Chris Knobloch. I've been saying for a while, people need to pay attention to this guy. So that he had a lot of success as the coach with the Erie Otters. And he's University of Alberta. He played at University of Alberta for looks like 5 years. Geez. He played in the WHL for Lethbridge Hurricanes. So if you look at Chris Knobloch, I mean, if they decide to move on from, this is his playing record, and then here's his coaching record. And if you look at who they won the championship here. He had DeBrincat, the Radish brothers, Dylan Strome, TJ Fergus is Tom Fergus's son. He's pretty good. I don't know if he's still playing. Warren Fogle, I think that was acquired in a trade from Kingston. Yeah. Anthony Cirelli acquired from Oshawa. So they loaded up and they won. Look at this. Eric Cernak playing in Tampa Bay, right? Won a Stanley Cup. So he's coached some guys that went on. And then I don't know about the goaltending situation, but then if you look before they won, he coached some pretty good players by a guy named Connor McDavid. So you had Strome, McDavid, DeBrincat, some pretty good players there. Travis Dermott. Oh, that's interesting. Remy played there. That is interesting. I did not know that. Oh, Remy Ellie played there. I totally forgot. Curtis McDermott is a defenseman playing for the LA Kings. Tough guy. Mason Marchman, if you're a Florida Panthers fan, he played, and Jake did. That's interesting. I don't know if he's the younger or the older brother. There's TJ again. So he's coached guys that have gone on to play in the show. And then if you look at his record,
the first question,
which is he coached 2 years an assistant coach in Philadelphia. After that, and as the head coach in Hartford, he's 31-20 with a .589 winning percentage last year. Obviously a weird season this year. Steve Fogarty playing in the NHL. Isn't he playing with Tampa? Oh, look at that. He's got Darren Radish again. I didn't notice that. Kravstow's going to come out of there. He's going to be awesome. Ryan Gropp. He played for Seattle Thunderbirds in the W. Interesting. Yeah, we had some battles there. Scheidel. So he knows some of the players that have gone up and some of the young stars. Shesterkin played 25 games last year for him. So he's pretty familiar with them. And when he went up into the NHL, they started winning. So it's going to be interesting to see where this ends up. Do they go in a different direction?
The first question comes from Vince. You said it's been a whirlwind 24 hours. You didn't really see this coming, but did your conversations with James
today with Providence Bruins, and if we win in regulation, we win the division. So that's what's
that's in the AHL because he's the general manager in Hartford.
For a handful of games this season, what is your takeaway from that, and will that
to hear and see things from that angle after being on the 10th floor for 6+ years, it was exciting and definitely could learn a lot. Also I think the added benefit to it was our Hartford coaches were there with me and got to work with them in a way that I hadn't previously. So overall it was a real good experience, and glad I got to do it.
Where do you think you are in terms of your readiness? How have you, the last 5 or 6 years when you've been working in the organization, how has that prepared you for this role? And then do you feel like you mentioned having a vision in your
don't unpack your bags? I know Chris Drury ain't going anywhere. They might have done this anyway, but
yeah, there's no doubt in my mind. I know I'm ready, and
he's ready.
I owe that to Jeff.
Guy's been groomed for a while.
I got hired in development. Like I said, he put his arm around me and had me in every meeting, whether it was with Mr. Dolan or amateur scouting meetings, you name it. I was everywhere, and was fortunate enough to learn from him, and without question, I'm here today because of how he treated me and helped me these last 6 years.
This is for Glenn. As an old school guy, do you agree with the narrative we've heard a lot from reporters and fans about the number one thing this team needs is a little more grit, toughness?
Not really.
Well, I think when
need some D, man.
When you look at the lineup that was playing Washington last night, and I was particularly proud of the way they reacted. They all young guys.
Yeah, but you don't want Ryan Strome fighting. And you need someone out there. I mean,
players, and it has to come from within the team.
Yes, but you can't have goons, but you can have a Tom Wilson
and support each other. They certainly did that last night.
They did, and there's some big players in there, but still.
Yeah, I don't think that was the expectation. I don't think that was a mandate.
What, Washington's gooning you up? Okay, listen, Chara. Who's going to take on Chara? Nobody. Well, Brendan Smith wants to all the time, but that's crazy. And then Tom Wilson is just, he did some dirty crap, man. I was watching, he's punching Buchnevich on the ground. He can't defend himself. Yes, Buchnevich is laying on his stick, and then he's like lifting the stick in his throat. Like, that's ridiculous. And then what he did to like shove down Panarin, I mean, there's no way that he should not have been suspended after watching that.
It's definitely time to take the next step and turn those moments and turn.
Probably guess for the last two.
You know what they'll be able to find? A tough guy. It's not that hard. You know, Toronto kind of went through this, and they brought in some veteran guys that are a little grittier.
Rangers games, you know, who
third and fourth line guys.
Like, you call two people up, and who might they be?
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is interesting. I think I don't know what else we're going to learn from this. So they've made the announcement. Chris Drury is the GM, but also the president of the New York Rangers. You see Glen Sather at his side. They are going in a different direction. Yesterday was a bizarre day if you're a New York Rangers fan. They had this strange press release. And today the Rangers get fined $250,000. But before all that, let's see what the NHL's response to this was. Yeah, before all that, you know, they obviously fired Gorton. So it's like press release comes out criticizing the Perros decision to fine $5,000. Look at this, it's 5. They added an extra 0. I found a typo on your website, NHL.com. Maybe it should have been 50 G's and people wouldn't have freaked out. But I think in the end, he needed to be suspended. And Tom Wilson's forfeited $1 million. They said $1.3 million in like 30 games because he's done so many stupid things. Like, this guy's physically powerful. He can play. He can score. Why does he do stupid stuff? I don't get it. Like, what he did was really stupid. Like, that was like unsafe. Beyond unsafe. Like, that was dangerous. That could have been a Todd Bertuzzi, Steve Moore moment. Like, no problem. Like, you're pile driving a 5'9", 5'10" guy down on the ground from behind. The other guy is like leaning on your stick and you're lifting the stick up in his throat and punching him. It's like, come on, give me a break. Dumb. So yeah, the NHL, as expected, goes, hey, public comments of the nature issued by the Rangers that were personal in nature, demeaning of a league executive, which is George Perros. George Perros is a pretty tough guy, by the way. Like, you know, fought his way through the NHL. Maybe that's who they need to go work for them. Got a typo on your website. They call for Wilson to be suspended in that press release, but that's not their position, right? Like, Rangers press release, Perros. Let's see what it says so you know what it says. There's got to be a screenshot of this thing. It was on Twitter, which is an evil place, but yeah, they just said it was a dereliction of duty. Here it is. This is weird, you know, like, I know they said in the press release today that had nothing to do with why they moved on, but if you read it, the Rangers are extremely disappointed the Capitals forward has not been suspended. And then you go to the end of it. We view this as a dereliction of duty by NHL head of player safety, George Perros, and believe he is unfit to continue his current role. What are you thinking? Why would you release this? This is stupid. Like, you think the NHL is not going to respond or your boss is not going to respond? You just gave them ammunition to move in a great young executive. Like, Chris Drury is very impressive. He knows, he minds his P's and Q's. He's got a good relationship with the media. He talks in a way you can tell he's got a good relationship with Glen Sather. He spoke highly of Jeff Gorton. So it's not that Jeff Gorton's not a capable exec. But this is crazy town. Like, I don't know. It's hard to believe that this is not part of what they decided, you know, like, why? Yeah, that seems crazy. Anyways, what do you think about the change? I don't think they're going to hurt because of it. It is a little bit surprising that Drury's both president and GM. So that's kind of interesting. Comment below what you think. If you're a Rangers fan, are you excited for the future of the Rangers? I would be, just based upon the talent that's there, you know, and they're not that far off. It's going to be easy to get someone to be tough. I mean, that's not hard to find, right? What's hard to find is the talent they have, like Panarin and Fox and Savannah Chad and Lafreniere. This thing has been pieced together with a lot of pieces that are going to be huge if they keep it together. You know, they moved on from Anthony DeAngelo. That was crazy town. They had a lot of drama because of all the Panarin stuff this year, and now this. So it's been a little bit weird. Hopefully, under the Chris Drury regime, you see he minds his P's and Q's, and he says, hey, there's some things I'm going to talk about publicly and some things I'm not. He's very complimentary of Jeff Gorton. He's complimentary of other, coaches and players that he's worked with. And you get the feeling he's going to be fair and even-handed in evaluating people. And maybe there's opportunity. Chris, if you need a really great scout, I would love to do that. I would put my butt into it, my back into it, whatever. How do you say that? I don't know how you say that. All right, thanks, Pucks and Dreams followers and Hockey Nation fans. Comment below what you think about this move by the Rangers and what you think about the press junket. I don't know what that is, press conference. And what do you think of Chris Drury as the new GM and president of the New York Rangers?